The fish hadn't even bit yet when Karen came storming across my lawn like a banshee in yoga pants, arms flailing, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, screaming that I was illegally fishing in a lake I've owned for 12 years. Honest to God, for a second I thought it was some prank, like maybe the neighbor kids dared her, but no, she was dead serious. She called me a trespasser on my own dock, threatened to call the sheriff, and slapped a handwritten $500 fine on my cooler with pink duct tape, all because I dared to cast a line in what she suddenly claimed was HOA regulated water. That's how my peaceful Sunday morning got hijacked and turned into a full-blown war logic versus lunacy, and logic was not winning. It had started like any other weekend up at dawn. Strong coffee barefoot to my dock, baiting my line with the kind of care only a guy who's fished that lake since it was dug would use. Birds chirping, the glassy water trout just starting to rise, my kind of earned peace. I built this home, bought the land before the HOA even existed, and the deed literally carves out the lake as a separate legal entity, meaning nobody, not even the self-appointed queen of clipped hedges, has any say over what I do with it. Or so I thought. Karen barreled down like she'd uncovered a national security threat, waving a laminated page in my face, something printed off what looked like a website for fake HOA citations, saying Section 7B bans fishing between April and October without board approval. I asked what board? The one that doesn't own this lake. She gasped like I'd slapped her with a wet fish. We voted last month. You were absent, unexcused. It was like watching a soap opera that forgot how reality works. I told her, you can't vote on rules for land you don't own. I have the deed. Her face twisted up, then she stuck the fine on my cooler and muttered that maybe someone should teach me some respect for authority. That's when I knew this wasn't just a Karen moment. It was a full-blown HOA power trip. The worst part, when I tried to reason with the real HOA president Gary later that day, he blinked like he'd just learned what an email was. Karen said it was urgent, he muttered. Said you were disrupting trout mating season. Gary, there is no trout mating season in April. This is Texas, not Oregon. Even if there was, it's my lake, my deed, my permits. They can't just make up environmental rules for what they don't govern. Gary shuffled away, mumbling something about Karen's passion for lakefront harmony. By Monday, my mailbox was stuffed with notices. $500 fine, now escalating to $750 if unpaid in 10 days. Threats of lien citations for willful disobedience. My blood boiled, not because I couldn't pay, but because my property had become a battleground for a woman with a God complex and a Facebook group. I pulled out my deed, checked with a lawyer friend. Yep, they didn't have a leg to stand on. But I wasn't going to waste time with court filings. No, I had something better, something with teeth. See, I'm not just the guy who owns a lake. I'm a certified aquatic biologist, semi-retired, but I know more about managing private waters than Karen knows about hedges. That night, bourbon in hand, I got an idea flipping through an old biology textbook. If Karen wanted to make the lake her business, maybe it was time to make it interesting. I made a few calls, and within days, I had a shipment on the way, red-bellied vegetarian piranhas. Not illegal, not dangerous to humans, just terrifying to look at. These things eat plants, but they'll skeletonize a cucumber slice in seconds and put on a show that makes your heart skip. I prepped the shallows, marked the boundary, and when the fish truck showed up, the driver raised an eyebrow, but I waved it off. 2 days later, the fish were thriving, darting through the shade, flashing silver every time something hit the water. I tested it. Myself dropped a cucumber slice, watched it vanish in seconds. It was like underwater fireworks. All I had to do was wait. And Karen, she didn't keep me waiting long. That weekend, she hosted a Lakeside Ladies of Leisure brunch and casting contest. 20 women in floppy hats, overpriced sandals, matching tumblers, swarming the dock. Karen strutted out front like she was hosting a reality show. She cast her line, made eye contact with me, and 3 seconds later, gone. Line snapped, bobber, vanished, gasps all around. She tried again. Line spun off, reel zipping into the lake like a torpedo. She screamed, stumbled, splashed knee-deep in the shallows, right where the piranhas waited. She shrieked, scrambled out, convinced something had bitten her. The women scattered, and I watched from my dock silent as a ghost, trying not to laugh. Karen, soaking wet and furious, screamed, "This lake is cursed," she announced. Fishing was now banned until further notice. No exceptions. That's when I knew I'd won round one. The story spread like wildfire. By Sunday, half the neighborhood had seen a video of Karen slipping into the lake, the so-called demon fish swarming her feet. A group chat poll popped up. Should we exorcise the lake or rename it Karen's Lagoon? Even the HOA board was embarrassed. Gary looked like he'd aged 5 years overnight. Karen wasn't done, though. She called for an emergency inspection of my property line, convinced the lake wasn't really mine. 3 HOA board members showed up, clipboards in hand. I met them with the deed and a county satellite image. Philip, the oldest, just looked at the paperwork side and said, "Well, that settles it. I'm going home." The others followed, and Karen, watching from her golf cart, nearly bit through her straw. To save face, Karen organized a lake safety awareness day, complete with a fish whisperer named Kurt. He showed up in a rusty truck, claimed he could identify any fish, and started fishing. The piranhas did their thing, bait gone, bobber snapped, nothing caught. But then little Ethan, 9 years old and wearing floaties, piped up. My dad says those are vegetarian piranhas. He helped put them in a zoo pond once. They look scary, but they don't bite people. A few parents nodded. The crowd started turning. Trina, ever the troublemaker, called out, "So, Karen, how much of the HOA budget went to your fish whisperer's meatball fund?" Laughter broke out. Karen's grip slipped. The real twist, Channel 9 News, showed up. Carla, the anchor, asked for a statement. I explained everything fish legality deed. She filmed underwater footage of the piranhas tearing up a head of lettuce. That night, the segment aired local HOA fines man for fishing in his own lake. Turns out the fish are healthier than the board. Karen's meltdown became a meme, her quotes remixed into a dance track. But Karen doubled down. She filed a federal EPA complaint about invasive species. Lucky for me, the assigned agent was an old college buddy. She laughed, came out tested, the water confirmed everything was legal. I taped the signed document to my mailbox. Karen, desperate now, started sneaking around at night. My motion cameras caught her tossing meat scraps by my dock trying to bait predators. I turned the evidence into animal control, and with her trespassing record, it became a legal issue. At the next HOA meeting, the board openly debated removing her. Karen defended herself, said she was protecting the children, but nobody was buying it. They voted to suspend her from all leadership roles. She stormed out, muttering, "I won't be silenced by fish." That quote became the new lake meme printed on t-shirts. You'd think it'd be over, but people like Karen never really stop. One morning, I noticed milky clouds in the water and dead fish. My sensors picked up chemical imbalances. A neighbor sent blurry photos Karen at the water's edge before dawn dumping something in. Animal Control County environmental officers and the sheriff showed up with a warrant. They found buckets of commercial pool chemicals on her property, illegal to dump in a natural lake. She was arrested on her front lawn, neighbors live streaming, still yelling about biological warfare. The HOA kicked her out for good, wiped her name from every record. Gary apologized, asked if I'd help set new guidelines for the community. I agreed on one condition: official recognition of my lake ownership and a promise of non-interference. Done and done. With Karen out, the scars took time to heal the water, the fish population. But I decided to go big. I teamed up with a conservation nonprofit to turn the lake into an educational center. Weekend events, kids feeding piranhas, parents learning about native plants, volunteers cleaning the shore. It was everything Karen claimed to want, but for real. Karen out on bail, faded from view house, unkempt yard overgrown. But she tried one last time, caught on camera siphoning lake water, ranting about mutant fish. She got slapped with a restraining order and psychological evaluation. Finally, the neighborhood relaxed. The lake, once a battleground, became a symbol of unity. The new HOA president, Melissa, even asked me to consult on conservation projects. Local schools scheduled field trips. The lake had a name now, Harmony Basin. I built a small dockside sign, "Please respect our fishy friends." Families took selfies, kids raced to drop cucumbers for the piranhas. Even the jokes about aquatic warlords and Karen the fish slayer became a kind of folklore. And yet I always knew Karen's kind doesn't just vanish. Sure enough, a single letter appeared under my door, no signature, just her angry cursive. "You've turned this neighborhood into a circus, and I will not let it stand. Enjoy your fame while it lasts." I chuckled, but tightened the lake's digital security just in case. She filed a bogus zoning complaint, but the county saw right through it. At a packed community forum, I laid out the facts, showed a video reel of our progress, and the county rep closed the case for good. When I hosted our Lake Day celebration, Karen stood across the property line shouting about unnatural fish to no one but the wind. That was the last I saw of her. By late summer, the lake was thriving, fish healthy, water clear, community strong, and even the HOA was eager to move forward. One evening alone on the dock with my old rod, I watched the sunset ripple over Harmony Basin and realized this wasn't just about a lake, it was about fighting for sanity, for community, for the right to live with a little peace. Karen had tried every trick, lies, sabotage, even poison, but in the end, she just made us all stronger. I guess the lake always knew how to heal as long as someone stood guard. And now I'm curious, if this had happened in your neighborhood, whose side would you be on? What do you think? Did justice win out, or does someone like Karen ever really go away? Let me know what you do, and if you believe a little chaos is worth it to protect what's right.